Hello folks, Steve and Matt here. Welcome into TK Power Sports. We are here with the Yamaha Crosswave. Now hopefully you saw our initial review on this unit, but Matt, that was only like a 3-hour taste of the Crosswave, so we just gave our initial thoughts. Well, now we are living with this thing, so we have a lot more thoughts on it to share. Plus you guys asked a ton of questions on that first video, so right now we're gonna answer all of your most burning questions. So let's start with what I consider one of the biggest questions that hasn't been answered yet. What does it weigh? This is a huge unit, so people are curious. And Matt, I have to say, I've been doing this for a long time. I've never seen a company release a product like this and not tell us what it weighs. As of today, July 23rd, on the Yamaha website, the weight is still listed as TBD. Which is a problem. I can't believe they're trying to sell a product and not telling people, not just for how it's gonna feel in the water, but what vehicle you need to tow it, right? You need to know what it weighs. So, have no fear, internet, we took it to a scale. I went to my local dump and I put it on the scale, I disconnected the truck, I let it sit there, and they told me that it weighs 870 kilograms, which is 1,918 pounds.
And that, we should also mention, that is the weight of the trailer and a full tank of fuel right to the rim.
Correct. That's 100 liters of fuel, and it had the trailer, and it had the cooler on here. This is included, basically as you see it here. So you have to be fair. I think the trailer, we couldn't get a specific weight on it. I'm gonna guess 400 pounds, and that's probably even generous. So yeah, you know, wet weight on this thing, 1,500 to 1,600 pounds, I think is probably where that number is going to come in. So yeah, I'm happy that we were able to get that weight. And once again, I'll be curious to see now how our number lines up with Yamaha's number, but I can pretty confidently say, Matt, 1,500 pounds is right around where this thing is gonna land.
And that's what we said in the initial video in terms of just what we felt. Right. It definitely felt nearly double of some of the other units that we were riding that day, and that would have put it about the 1,500 pound mark. And now if you figure, we've got a capacity over here of 705 pounds, and that includes passengers and gear, plus your 1,500 initial, so you're up over 2,000
when you're fully
pounds
loaded
riding out there. That sounds fatiguing.
It is a big, heavy unit, no doubts about that.
So one of the questions that we saw a lot of on this video too was talking about these bars here on the front, and what are they for? Well, they're here for styling. Largely, that's the purpose of them, to kind of give you that silhouette of a traditional wave runner. Right. I mean, I guess if you had something on the front and you needed a place to tie it down as well, you also have this huge bar up here around your instrument panel. But if you don't like them or you don't want them, little quick release there, thread it out. Oh, whoops. I dropped it in the water.
Don't lose it.
I got it, I got it, I got it. We're good.
And then this just threads out of here. It's just a big screw. Like so, and then it should pull towards
straight out,
and then it's gone. And I gotta say, Matt, if I own this thing, I do think I would take them off. Like, I get the styling thing, but it kind of ruins your whole walk around bow, right? That's the whole point of having this machine, is that you can move around it. Yep. So I do appreciate at least they gave us the option to take them off, because yeah, for me, I would rather go function over style.
100%.
The next big question we saw a lot is, why aren't the storages watertight? And it is a fair question, because this thing actually does, Matt, spray quite a bit of water up there when you're out riding it. So you want to be able to put your stuff in there and make sure it's not going to get wet. Now, it's at this point I have to tell you, this is a pre-production model, and this was the one we were riding in our initial review, so it won't go through the entire same process as every other Crosswave will, the same quality assurance checks. So to that end, we're going to do our own quality assurance check, and we already have. We came up here and looked and realized that the clasp that tightens these things is pretty loose. If you can see that flex, it's really not holding it great.
Even if I release that,
you can really see it. However, they are adjustable. So Matt and I figure someone probably just didn't adjust them properly, so they're not grabbing, because you can see there is a nice rubber gasket all the way on the inside.
And a nice lip for it to sit on.
Exactly.
As well as those nice channels for the water to drain somewhere that isn't on your stuff.
So it certainly appears to be designed to be watertight. So we're going to go ahead and adjust it, and then we're going to test it and make sure it can get watertight, because it should be, Matt.
It's just a threaded rod, so we're going to just give it an extra half a turn, or 1 revolution tighter, and then that should be it. And then we got a simulated wave. So let's go ahead and do that now, and we'll show you the result. Back this guy out. All right.
Okay, adjustment done. Let's go ahead and close it and just feel it right away, Matt. You should be able to feel how tight it's going to be.
So there's caught tighter.
Do you think it felt better?
I think it felt a lot better. I mean, it's
We
still
should go one more tighter, maybe?
still got some flex. Maybe we go one more. Yeah, let's go one more.
Yeah, and
I
it's
felt like it was going to lock a little harder than that.
It's not hard to do.
No.
Okay, now let's see.
That's tighter.
Felt better.
That's aggressively tighter. All right. Simulated wave test.
All right, let's try it out. Holder.
Yep, holding. Don't splash me.
All right, that's quite a bit.
And just so you guys can see, so the water is
draining
off
back
the
out
front,
the channels.
and if it does get overwhelmed at the back, it's actually running through a channel and coming down into your footwell and going right out through the foot drains or the floor drains.
Interesting.
Yeah, so obviously if you get too much water, it's going right out the back anyway. All right, so I'd say there you swamped it pretty good.
I think so. All right, moment of truth.
All right, let's see. So release, turn, and lift. Nice and slow.
Oh, the water's running in.
Water did run in. It's still running in, so it
Yeah,
didn't quite discharge fully yet. That's, but I will say the sides where it would have seen some intrusion are not wet. So I'm pretty confident in that. Now, yeah, there's a good point though. If you do get it really good and then immediately try to open that up to grab a towel or something,
Yeah.
you might be doing yourself in.
Okay, take two here, folks. So we've actually went back in and tightened this as tight as it could possibly be this time.
One thread from the top of that pin.
So yes, this thing couldn't be tighter. It definitely feels tighter. I'm gonna do the same thing with my paddle, except this time we'll drain the channel before we open the hatch to see if anything was down in there.
And to simulate riding, you figure if you were moving at speed between the wind and the waves, that water would have a chance to kind of get off of it.
Correct, yeah, even just the bow up
Yeah.
attitude, right? It's gonna run out of there.
Yeah, exactly, or just more time as well. Because like I can see it already running back here into the footwells a little bit. All right.
Shovel in the water. All right. So
Okay.
now let's just tilt it first and
Yep.
try to get it to run off this way. There you go.
There.
Yeah, that's already most, and then maybe a little bow down action. Yeah, again, coming right out this channel here. I'd like to see that.
That's most of it, it looks like.
Yeah.
There's a slight pool in there, but
Maybe
I think
just grab
that's
the towel real quick off the seat.
I think that was a much more fair shake.
And again, like you said, it's not like you're going to be toweling this off every time, but I want to know if there's any water down in there.
Yeah. There's a little bit in this handle
In the
still.
handle.
Like a pocket.
Okay, that's fine though. So here we go.
Okay, a little bit
drips
ran
running
off
in.
that deck, but otherwise that is still bone dry.
It is dry.
Yep. So a couple drip drops, but I mean, ultimately, you know, the space station isn't airtight. This isn't 100% waterproof.
That is fair. But yeah, I think the point is so many people saw the water was getting in. It's nice to know there is an adjustment. So there is something you can do to come along and make it much better. This definitely made it much better. And then the fact that the drains are in there tells you, yeah, Yamaha expects you to get a little bit of water in there. But I would say, you know, what you saw in that first video was probably a little bit disingenuous. They should be pretty watertight.
And just to show you guys as well, you do have the two aft storages here, and they have the exact same adjustment style lockers as that front bin. So if you are noticing a little bit of water back here, you can do the same thing, adjust them up, and you're back to waterproof.
Another comment we saw a lot was about the weight limit on this thing, and there is a sticker right here that tells you the maximum weight limit is 705 pounds or 4 people. So this is meant for 4 riders. Once you have 4 on, that's max, or up to 705. And that's not a massive number. Like, it is true that if Matthew and I got on there, and we're obviously big, and then we had a cooler full of drinks and a bunch of fishing gear, maybe we would touch 705. We'd be close. And then, yeah, if you get 3 guys on here who want to go fishing, you're absolutely over that limit. So it is worth noting. But another thing you have to know is that's pretty comparable to other boats. We looked up some tracker deep V fishing boats and deep V or just flat bottom John boats. And for boats that were even bigger, like 16-foot boats, the weight limits were barely more than 705.
And even in instances where we were looking at almost 19-foot boats.
Right.
You know, 200 pounds more capacity.
Right.
So this is quite a smaller package, so that's not a bad number.
Yeah,
That's kind of
that's-
where we came to.
Exactly. Just looking at everything comparable, I think the 705 is totally fine. And it is also worth pointing out, it says right on the sticker, this is the maximum recommended safe limit. Now, of course, we're never going to recommend you overload anything, but it is worth noting if you're a few pounds over, I think you'll be just fine. Now, next up, these aren't specifically questions we got, but we have to show you a few things that weren't on the unit when we first tested it, and they are accessories. Now, first of all, you get this guy right here. This is a bucket holder, so you can drop your bait bucket in there or something while you're fishing. And then these little cutouts for different tools, pliers, screwdrivers, whatever else.
Even a rod holder there, the one circle.
Sure, and that's it. There's no specific rod holders that are outside of the storage yet, but we were told by Yamaha that tons of accessories are coming, and that seems like an obvious one. Right?
Yeah, especially considering like on the side of the cooler here, they call this the molly plate, I believe.
Right.
And you've got all these anchor points that are going to be set up for things like your rod holders and different accessories to bolt on right here, and that's on both sides as well.
Yeah, which is nice. And then finally, we have another accessory in here. So it's this little storage bin. So you can tuck, we got the straps in here, we put the bars from the front in here. And then the nice thing is that this entire tray lifts out of here. I don't want to make those bars fall, but then you can access your storage underneath, drop it back in, and again, spot for your another bait bucket, spot for your stuff. And the nice thing, Matt, because it raises it up, it's much easier to reach. Like from a seated position, you could actually get to stuff, whereas getting to the bottom is a little bit tricky.
We did notice that if something's down on the floor, you're now out in the water, you know, and you're either balancing or you're kneeling or you're like laying across the seat to get all the way down into the bottom of that bin. So that is nice to bring stuff up a little bit closer to you.
Right. Now, the one thing I have to say is the one accessory I am surprised isn't out yet is a live well. That's another one where if you're going to tell me this thing is for fishing, a live well seems obvious.
Yeah.
I know Sea-Doo's solution is essentially, it looks like this. It's basically a cooler, and they have a line out, a line in. It's just pumping in lake water, constantly circulating it, and that could be a live well. So that's another thing I expect that will come. I hope for Yamaha's sake and for customers' sake that will come. But to me, that's a bit of a miss right off the bat.
Seeing as they're marketing this so hard at that fishing aspect, even that, like the bucket holder, is that's a straight up fishing accessory.
Right.
So they're coming for sure. And I mean, it's in terms of the fishing angle, we should just mention it here. There is the 8-foot storage over here for full length rods that pass underneath. You know, you'll maybe get something for here sooner rather than later. And we're going to talk more about that stuff when we do an in-depth fishing review, because it's an excuse for me to go fishing, which I love. We're going to take it out. Steve and I are going to go fish. We're going to shoot some stuff, hopefully catch something bigger than a sunfish, and we'll show you guys all the features here when it comes to that next time.
Yeah, stay tuned for that video. One other thing that was added to our unit today, this mirror, and this is also standard equipment. It just wasn't on here when we did the first test, but now it is here. I'm a big believer in having a mirror anyways, but on such a big unit it feels important. And then if you're doing water sports and towing someone off the back, that is nice to have. So yes, mirror is included in the package, just like the cooler back there. And now we have to get to what was overwhelmingly the most common comment on the first video, which was about the price. And most people think this thing is way overpriced. Now, in the United States, you're talking about $32,500. Here in Canada, you're talking about $50,800, which, yes, on its face, feels very expensive. One thing worth mentioning that we didn't say in the first video, that does include the trailer. So you are getting a custom aluminum trailer as part of that price. But still, Matt, I think the biggest argument against the Crosswave is that you can get a nice 16-foot tracker deep V fishing boat, only 40 horsepower granted, but still a really legitimate fishing boat for half the price, $16,000 to $17,000.
You can step up into tracker bass boats that are similarly priced, with, you know, over 100 horsepower on the back. So we did the research, and I mean, yeah, and I get it. Everybody jumping online saying, just buy a boat, just buy a boat. That was, you know, the coupled with the price question was the just buy a boat comment.
Yeah.
And yes, we see it. You know, if you're that guy, that's your deal, we see it.
Yeah.
If you're us, Steve and I are casual fishermen, I dare say. You know, we ice fish twice a year and fish on the dock with the kids 3 times a year. That's it, that's our life. But the rest of the time, I want to tow them on the tube. So this kind of fits that dual role. You know, so if you kind of think of it from that perspective that you're getting the 2-in-1, I can kind of justify the cost a little better.
That is fair, yes. It's all usage case. It's always all usage case, right? If you're just focused on fishing, like if you and I were just going to take it out every weekend, no, I don't think I would get this, because you're not as comfortable as you are on a fishing boat. You don't have proper pedestal seats, anything like that. But to Matt's point, yeah, if you do have a family, it's kind of perfect. I have 3 kids, so actually this is the first wave runner I've ever brought home that I can take all 3 of my kids on.
And
legally.
nobody's fighting. Who gets to go next, Dad?
Yeah, exactly. So that is nice. You also have to recognize that even though as wave runners go, this isn't the most fun wave runner out there because it's big and heavy, it's going to be way more fun than any fishing boat, except for maybe the craziest bass boats, to be fair. But even those, they're not going to handle like different. This is. They're just different. So if you do want that thrilling PWC experience, you have to come here. So, that's it. I'm not trying to justify the price. It is crazy, and it's crazy when you look at every other PWC on the market. It's by far the most expensive wave runner. It's way more expensive than the Sea-Doo fishing lineup, and that's where you look at it and go, yeah, Yamaha definitely came out and said, we're going to price this thing in its own category above everything else because we think it is that different. Now, Matt, I think there's another part of this conversation which is worth having, which is straight up that this is not meant for everybody, right? You probably are going to be pretty wealthy if you're buying this thing. And from Yamaha's perspective, like I talked to someone at Yamaha Canada, they have tons of interest. They are going to sell every one that they bring into the country, at least this year.
Yep.
Next year, the year after, that might fade. But for now, based on what I heard, they're going to all sell. And if they all sell, from Yamaha's point of view, it's priced correctly. So,
we had this unit on the water in the Muskokas, so, you know, fairly famous cottaging area here in Ontario. We were shooting another video, but we were using this as just a chase vehicle, for so to speak, for that day. One guy turned around on his motorcycle on the highway to come ask us about it. 2 other boats pulled up to ask us about it. Another guy came to the dock, mostly to say he was a fan of Steve, but also to say, wow, that thing's crazy. And yeah, so I mean, it catches eyes and it's generating some attention.
Yeah.
There was, even at the launch, there was nobody that wasn't like, oh, what's that?
Right.
What's that? What is that? And again, that's the part of the world that this might be a little more targeted to right now.
Yeah, I think so. One more thought on the sort of Crosswave versus a regular boat argument, and this is actually against the Crosswave. PWCs are limited in a lot of places. There's a lot of places, the Florida Keys, for instance, the one I know personally is the Toronto Inner Harbor, doesn't allow PWCs. So even though this thing is massive and barely feels like a PWC, which is a personal watercraft, there are some places you're just not going to be able to go, and that would change if you bought a boat. The other thing is that no navigation lights here. PWCs are not allowed in the dark. So if you're ever thinking about leaving super early or coming home late at night, technically this won't be allowed.
And that almost puts a bit of a damper on the fishing aspect.
It does.
You know, you want to be on your favorite spot pre-dawn, or you want to be, you know, smashing those bass topwater right at dusk.
Yeah. Yep.
You're really compromising that.
Yep. So that's another thing to consider. And once again, it always comes back to usage case. Where are you going to take it? What do you want to do with it? But that is a bit of a limiting factor. Another comment we got was about the Cleanout port here on the Crosswave. So let's see how that works, and then let's talk about how that compares to what Sea-Doo offers. Let me show you how the flush out port works now. So it's right back here. First of all, you do have to remove the cooler. You open this hatch right here. Now there is actually a dead man switch here. So once you open this hatch, the engine will shut off, and that's so you don't stick your hand down here and slice your fingers. So then you reach down. There is a cap that you have to unscrew. Let's see if I can get it. It's pretty tight. Oh, there it is. Come on, Cappy. Ah, there it is. So yeah, it took a little bit of doing. This is quite a tight fit, and I do feel like it was just sort of airlocked down in there, the air seal. But yeah, looking down in there now, I can see right down into the impeller shaft. Now, to be honest, it looks fully clean, and you notice it's out of the water right now. We actually just had it in the water 2 days ago, and right near the end of our shoot, I did get a bunch of weeds jammed up in there, so I thought maybe there might be some left. But you know what? She's actually fully clean right now. But again, I'm reaching down here. I'm getting right onto the impeller shaft. I can feel the impeller blades. And as someone who has had multiple PWCs jammed up with weeds, this is massively helpful. Now, in a previous video, I said that I prefer this over the Sea-Doo IDF system. That's Sea-Doo's Intelligent Debris Free system. Let's just talk about the differences. Over at Sea-Doo, you cannot physically access it like you can here on Yamaha. What Sea-Doo does is they essentially just spin the engine in reverse. So rather than sucking in, it's blowing out to blow out all of the weeds and hopefully clean off your impeller shaft. Now the Sea-Doo system is more convenient because you just have to sit there, hit some buttons, and it does it for you. The reason I said I like this better is because I physically get to get in there with my hands and make sure every bit of weed is pulled off of that impeller. Plus, I've had it where the weeds get so tightly wrapped around that impeller that I fear the Sea-Doo system might not work. And you also have to say the Sea-Doo system is more complex. What if it doesn't work? What if it breaks? Here, there's no complexity at all. You reach down, grab the weeds out of there. So this system is not as convenient as what Sea-Doo has. I will gladly admit that, because the Sea-Doo, you just sit there and hit buttons. But I just like that sort of tactile feeling that I know I got down there and cleaned that stuff out with my hands, and I know my impeller is now good to go. Another comment we got is, what is it like to climb back up on the Crosswave? Especially because there is a reboarding step, but that cooler is in the way. So let's go find out. Okay folks, let's figure this out for science. Ta-da! So you saw it there, everybody. It wasn't that hard for me to get back up on here. The cooler was in the way, but I also just grabbed onto the strap on the cooler, and then once I could reach over, grab that handle, and it was easy enough. So yes, it is a bit in the way, but it's manageable. The nice thing is how stable this thing is. On a lot of PWCs, I grab the back end, and the back end comes right down with me. Not on this thing. Another question we saw a lot was about fuel economy and range, so let me show you what our Crosswave was getting. Over 94.4 hours and 349 miles, this Crosswave was averaging 3.9 miles per gallon, and if you do some quick back of the napkin math with 26.4 gallons on board, that means you're getting a range of about 103 miles. Now, I can't vouch for how this Crosswave has been ridden before I got it, so I can't really say exactly what kind of usage case that is, but still, that's a decent idea of the kind of fuel economy and range you're getting out of this thing. Well, folks, we have come to the end of this video. Hopefully we answered more of your Crosswave questions, and we have another Crosswave fishing video coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. For now, Matt, I guess my final thoughts here are, this thing is unique, and for the moment, because it is in a class of one, there will always be a buyer who just wants that thing that's different. And if you do want a bit of a hybrid between I can go fishing, take my whole family, tow a tube, and get that traditional PWC experience, this is the only place you're gonna get it. So I do think it's pretty cool, and I am curious to see how it sells moving into the future.
That's literally what I'm excited for. I've been itching to finish this video because we're gonna go tow the kids, we're gonna go bomb around in the waves, we're gonna go fishing, and then we're gonna take a bunch of the kids and we're gonna go for a picnic because it's got tons of seats and tons of storage. Right. So it's just like, yeah, it does it all. Yeah. And I don't have to think about launching the aluminum boat, launching the pontoon boat, and the fishing boat.
Fair.
So from that aspect, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's about it. So now why don't you guys drop in the comments and let us know what you think of the Crosswave and everything you've seen in this video. As always, while you're down below, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and hey, if you're on your phone, hit the hype button. It does help us out.
Hit it with the hype.
And then as always, come right back here to the channel and see what we're testing next. See ya.